Redshift is a really powerful tool to add to your 3D skill set. It can help you create better quality renders much faster. It's actually owned by Maxon. So if you have Cinema 4D set up, you can get it by going up to the top menu and saying get Redshift. You can control all of this through the Maxon One app. You can download Redshift from here. It does take a little bit of time. Once you've installed it, you'll need to go up to Preferences in the Cinema 4D menu, go to Redshift, and make sure you click Redshift main menu under User Interface. This will allow you to quickly access the Redshift elements in your scene. There's still one last step, and once you've set up Redshift in the renderer, there should be a new item in the menu. It says Redshift. It's kind of collapsed because I just have a lot of items in here. But you can see within here, there's different objects, skies, volumes, lights in here, cameras, and materials. And one thing you're going to have to be careful of is when you're using the Redshift renderer, you want to be using materials, lights, and cameras that come from Redshift. They're not interchangeable, so I can't use a regular light and light my scene. I'm going to have to grab them from up here. We're going to get started. We can use some 3D shapes and primitives that we've used before. If you're used to Cinema 4D, we can grab a material from here. A standard material or like a car paint is already a good base material that has that kind of metallic car paint quality. And you can, this is your materials manager. You can just click and drag and bring that onto that. And you can kind of see what that looks like with no lights really set up in it. Another thing I like to do is grab materials actually from the asset browser. So if you see this red cube, that means the Redshift material, and you can use that in your Redshift scene. If you want to, if you're working with a standard or physical render, these are some materials you can use that are set up for that. But again, don't interchange them. So let's go ahead and maybe pull up a metal material. I'll load it first. I think this is better. I've had issues when I click and drag it. It kind of can freeze on you. So there we go. That's what that looks like. And if we want to look in there now, this is not going to be reflected in the scene because we don't have anything lighting the object, but that's giving you kind of a preview of like the reflection quality of this item. So if we want to light this scene, we can grab something like either a sky or a dome light. A dome light is going to light the whole scene, and we can put in an HDRI or something. And I think there are already some included in here. So if we wanted to use that to light the scene and also be included in the reflections, we could do that. You should just be able to click and drag it and put that, put it into the path here. So this is going to load that texture and light the scene. Again, this might take a little while, so I think also loading the file first can speed things up, or just prevent crashing. But this one looks like it's going. Okay, so now we have set up the scene. If we do a preview, Command R, you can see what that looks like already set up in there. And you can play with the intensity of this. Like I think it's coming out a little bit dark, so you can change the intensity, or you could do that in post. The other thing I think is really powerful about Redshift is that we can go into a render view and get basically a live view of this. If we press this button here, this is going to start or stop this preview. We can look at the beauty pass is sort of like the nice pass, but you can also isolate, or if you have different passes set up, you could isolate those, or you can kind of play with that. But the nice thing about this is I can move it around. Oh, it looks like it's in front of the Staples Center. And I'm getting a sort of a real-time update of what that looks like. For me, that's just more intuitive than seeing, I don't know, the view in here, which isn't always representative of what the lighting and things will look like. Now, it's progressively rendering, so it's going to get nicer the longer it runs. It does take a little bit of time, but even this kind of preview I think is super helpful for me. Okay, I noticed the sphere is a little bit jagged, so I might want to go in and add more segments so it smooths out a little bit. There are other things we can put in here. Just wanted to give you a quick overview of Redshift, getting it set up and kind of navigating around. If you have an external monitor, it'd be good to place this on that because it gets a little bit crowded here. But you can add other things like a point light, and those will light and also shadow the scene. I think I could try an area light as well. And again, use Redshift lights and cameras for or Redshift scenes. You might want to try to match the lighting of this. If that's where the sun is, maybe you can kind of match the lighting so that if you were going to cast shadows, you could cast shadows on that. I'm just going to do a shadow plane to show you what I mean. Again, I'm just putting this here to show you that. And so again, it's kind of nice to see this update as you're moving along. You could isolate the background on its own and just focus on this, but at least this gives you a quick overview into setting up Redshift on your machine, adding materials and lights. Oh, and I guess the last piece is if you want to put cameras in, the same sort of thing is just grabbing a camera. Oops. But we'll need to use these cameras instead of the other cameras if we want to use the Redshift renderer. So as I move that camera around, you're seeing it operates the same way as a regular camera, but it's just specifically made for Redshift. Let's just finish up by exporting this out as a frame, or you could also do a series of frames. Right now, this scene doesn't really make sense to me. It's just like this plane on the bottom. Maybe I'll make like kind of a room like structure, and I'll still use maybe an outdoor space. I guess I'll just go over how I might do that. I'll make a cube first and then scale it up really large. I'm gonna make it editable by pressing C. I'm gonna select planes here. I'm gonna delete the top or the side plane, and you can see that's like if the room had one opening, and you can see that reflection from the outside. Maybe I'll open up the top frame and you can kind of see what that looks like. But this is nice because I'm actually starting to get some shadows in here. And the background is, to me, starting to make sense. It's reflected in here. And again, this is progressively rendering, so this could be a little bit slower when you're rendering it. You can actually preview it in here, and once it renders, you can actually save the image from here. Or you could do it kind of like how we've been doing it before in the render settings. Set your size up here. Maybe this is current frame. We're just going to do maybe a PNG. I'll call it test, maybe. Set up a PNG. Okay. Under Redshift, there are different settings where if you want fewer passes, if it's less quality, but it's going to be faster, global illumination, and you can crank these up or down to get better results. I think it's always a balancing act between speed and quality. So let's just see how long something like this might take. So I'm actually rendering this only at 1280 by 720. It's taking some time, so this might not be great for a long animation, but actually it's coming along. I'm currently working on a MacBook M2. If you have an Apple Silicon, you should be able to use Redshift, or if you have a PC with a powerful GPU, this can also be an option for you. And so you can see this isn't quite HD. It's 16 by 9, but that took 1 minute and 8 seconds. So imagine having a number of frames like this. And the more complex there are and materials there are and elements, and if there's blurs or different kind of roughness to the reflection, that can really start to eat up the capacity of your computer and make it go slower. So hopefully this just gives you a quick walkthrough into some of the basics of Redshift. Hopefully you're not too intimidated by it, and it's definitely a really robust tool, but there's a lot to learn. So hope you enjoy using it.